Okay, Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Nurul Masyattah binti Muhammad Zuki and I am a student from Unisiraj, and today I am attending this program as a representative of my group to present our research finding. And the title is Kafalah as the basis of financing guarantee in the Islamic banking system. So since this presentation is being conducted online, so there is a possibility I'm lagging again. So therefore, I hope that during my presentation, if I'm lagging again or my voice is unclear, so someone can open their mic and inform me, because I'm afraid if you just raise your hand, I might not notice it because I will be focused on presenting. Okay, so that's all. Some brief note from me. I hope there will be some benefit from my presentation despite its many shortcoming. Okay, Bismillah. Okay, this is the list of content. Okay, we will begin. I will begin my presentation by explaining the abstract, and then I will go to the second subtopic, which is introduction, and then the third subtopic is the literature review, and then the fourth subtopic, research methodology, and then application of FIC concept to contemporary issues, and the sixth subtopic, which is this one, um, critical analysis and contemporary scholarly views. And I will explain in this about comparison between classical and modern scholars. And the last one is the conclusion. Okay, next we'll go to the abstract. Okay, so I will begin with the abstract of our study, which provides an overview of our research on kafalah as the basis of financing guarantee in Islamic banking. So this is our main objective of our research study. The first one is we want to analyze the concept of kafalah within Islamic financing, and we want to understand its foundational principle. And the second one is we want to examine the practical application of kafalah in financial institution, and we want to explore how it operates in the real world banking practice. And the last objective is we want to compare the views of classical scholars with those of contemporary scholars, and we will be also highlighting the differences and evolving interpretation. Okay, this is our research methodology, but I will explain it later. Uh, and this one is our key findings. Okay, so there is three, from our research, we identified several important findings. One of them is, oh, sekarang azan mau berhenti dulu kah? Kita teruskan.
Di Malaysia lagi azan ya?
Mau teruskan atau berhenti dulu?
Eh, Berhenti dulu juga boleh. Kita dengar azan di Malaysia aja dulu.
Okay, bentar ya, maaf.
Iya tak apa. Di
Um,
Malaysia asal ke?
hmm, 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 hmm.
Oke.
Dia asal. Sekejap. Bentar ya. Okay, dah, set dah. Minta maaf ya Kak.
Iya, nggak apa-apa.
Hello, hello, boleh dengar tak suara saya? Okay.
Boleh, boleh.
Um, Kalau macam tu saya ulang balik lah yang untuk slide. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I will begin with the abstract of our study, which provides an overview of our research on Kafalah as the basis of financing guarantee in Islamic banking. So this is our objective of the study. There is three main objectives. Okay, the first one is we want to analyze the concept of Kafalah within Islamic financing and understand its foundational principle. And the second one is we want to examine the practical application of kafalah in financial institution. And we want to explore how it operates in real world banking practice. Okay, and the last one is uh, we want to compare the views of classical scholars with those of contemporary scholars, and also we'll be highlighting the differences and evolving interpretation. Okay, this is our research methodology, but I will explain it more later. Okay, so we will go to the key findings. Okay, so from our research, we identified several important findings. Okay, there is the first one is kafala is valid and relevant, and it effectively reduces financing risk in Islamic banking. And then, but there is often confusion between kafala and rahnu, which can affect the implementation if it not clarified properly. And then the third one is challenges exist in documentation, guarantee liability, and compliance with Sharia principle, which must be carefully addressed for a successful application. Okay. So in conclusion, the study highlights that kafalah. This study highlights that kafalah is a strong mechanism for financing guarantees in Islamic banking, but careful attention to practical and legal details is necessary to maximize its effectiveness. Okay, next, the next slide is the introduction slide. Okay, so this in this section, I will introduce the background and significance of our study. Okay, so the growth of Islamic banking has created a need for guarantee instruments that are fully compliant with Sharia principle. So one of the instrument is kafalah, which is a contract where a third party called kafil guarantees the obligation of another party that is known as the makful anhu. And this mechanism is essential to ensure trust and security in financial transaction. But however, the implementation of kafalah faces several challenges. Okay, the first one is there is often confusion between kafala and rahnu, which is a collateral or pledge. Misunderstanding this concept can lead to improper application. Second, uh, issues arise regarding documentation and the liability of the guarantor. Clear procedures are needed to manage this risk effectively. And the third one is there's a need to balance compliance with Sharia principles and civil law requirement, which sometimes can conflict. Okay. So this study is important because it seeks to ensure that the implementation of kafalah aligns with the higher objective of Sharia or maqasid Sharia, while also being practical in modern banking system. So now let's take a look at the literature review, which we will examine classical, contemporary, and regional perspective on kafalah, as well as legal and governance issue. Okay, the first one we will take a look from classical scholars' perspective or classical scholars' mm, context. Okay, classical scholars define kafalah as a contract in which a third party called kafil guarantees the obligation of another party, yakni the makful anhu, and their analysis focus on the several key aspects. Okay, this is the several key aspect. First one is the validity of the contract through proper ijab and qabul, offer and acceptance. Okay. B, clarity regarding the project of the guarantee. C, the guarantor's ability to fulfill their obligation. And then the last one, D, avoiding elements of gharar, uncertainty, and riba interest. Okay. So, classical scholars assess the legality of kafalah based on primary evidence from the Quran, Sunnah, and fiqh methodologies. The purpose was to ensure fairness and protect the rights of all parties involved. Okay. Next, we will take a look from contemporary studies context or contemporary studies perspective. Okay, so modern research examines the use of kafalah in contemporary Islamic financial product as bank guarantee, letter of credit, and shipping guarantee. And implementation varies depending on internal policies of financial institution and decision of Sharia committees. Contemporary study um, contemporary studies emphasize proper documentation and clear claim procedure, focusing on both Sharia compliant and effective risk management in financing. Okay, next the third one is from the context of application the kafalah in Indonesian country. Okay, so in Indonesia, kafalah is often used as a personal guarantee in a murabahah contract. Some key challenge include some key challenge include customer understanding of the guarantee's responsibility, and then inconsistent contract documentation, enforcement issues under civil law. So these challenges create a potential risk of injustice if the guarantor's right and obligation are not clearly protected. Okay, this is the fourth. First, we will see from the context of legal and governance issue. There is often confusion between kafalah and rahnu. Kafalah actually refers to the liability guarantees, and rahnu refers to collateral or pledge asset. So, enforcing guarantees requires alignment with FIC principle. Good governance is essential, which include complete contract documentation, clear specification of liabilities, and compliance with Sharia committee rulings. So, in summary, the literature shows that while kafalah is well established in both classical and contemporary sources, it's also give careful attention to documentation, liability, and governance is crucial for practical implementation in modern Islamic banking. Okay, So in this section, I will explain about the methodology that we use in our research study. Okay, the first one is um, this research adopts a qualitative approach focusing on document analysis, and this approach is suitable because it allows us to examine legal text, and it allows us to examine scholarly opinions and practical application related to kafalah in depth. Okay, then second, our study is designed as a library-based research. We relied on existing written sources rather than fieldwork, because in order to analyze both classical and contemporary discussion in kafalah. Then, the sources of data that we use. The main sources that we use in this study include academic journal, thesis, conference paper, and legal or regulatory document related to Islamic banking and Sharia governance. Okay. And then we go to the method of analysis. The data were analyzed using thematic analysis. The main themes identified include fiqh principles, practical application, differences in scholarly opinions, governance issue, and financing risk management. And the last one is the scope of our study. So our study, the scope of this research focus on two countries. So we only focus on Malaysian country and Indonesian country, because we want to provide a comparative perspective on the implementation of kafalah in Islamic banking. So overall, this methodology enables us to a structured and comprehensive analysis of kafalah as a financial guarantee in modern Islamic banking system. Okay, so to the next subtopic. Okay, in this subtopic, I will discuss how classical fiqh concept, particularly kafalah, are applied to contemporary issues in modern Islamic banking. Okay, we'll take a look at this first. Okay, the first one is adaptation of classical concept to the modern practice. Okay, okay. Kafalah has been adapted to suit the needs of the modern Islamic banking system. Although it originates from classical fiqh, the concept is now applied in various Islamic financial products such as bank guarantees, like I've said before, performance guarantees, and letters of credit, like that. So the main purpose of applying kafalah in this product is to reduce the financing risk, and we want to increase the confidence of capital providers and financial institution in commercial transaction. Okay, second one is practical challenges. Okay, despite its benefit, there are several practical challenges in the implementation of kafalah, like the imposition of administrative fees must comply with fiqh principles and should not involve element of riba. Then there is ongoing confusion between kafalah and rahnu, like I've said before. Kafalah function as a liability guarantee, while rahnu involve the pledge of assets as collateral. Then um, inconsistent contract documentation can create legal and sharia risk, especially when rights and obligations are not clearly defined. Okay, so the third application concept is emphasis by contemporary scholars. Modern scholars emphasize the importance of proper governance in the application of kafalah, and this also includes detailed and well-structured contract documentation, and then clear liability clauses with defined limits to the guarantor responsibility, and then organized claim procedure to prevent dispute. And the last one is ensuring compliance with Sharia standards, banking regulation, and regular Sharia audit. Okay. So the fourth one is the benefits of the application of kafalah, of the benefit of modern application. Okay, we'll take a look at this one. Okay, The modern application of Kafalah provides several key benefits. It's offer legal certainty in high-risk commercial transaction and enables more systematic risk management. Most importantly, it ensures that the rights of all parties are protected. So ultimately, the application of Kafalah supports the objective of Maqasid Syariah, including justice, transparency, and the protection of right. So that's will conclude this section. We will go to another subtopic, which is I will present a critical analysis of kafalah by comparing the views of classical scholars with those of contemporary scholars. Next, the first one is classical scholars. Classical scholars mainly focus on the legal foundation and validity of the kafalah contract, and their discussion emphasize several key elements like the validity of ijab and qabul as essential component of the contract, and then they focus on clear identification of the guarantor and the object of the guarantee, and also the prohibition of gharar and riba to ensure fairness and transparency. So, the responsibility of kafil was interpreted literally, based strictly on the wording of the contract. The primary objective was to ensure justice and protect the rights of all parties involved. Okay. Next, we just talk about classical scholars. Next is contemporary scholars. So, contemporary scholars focus on adapting the concept of kafalah to the realities of modern financial institution, and they emphasize uh, detail and standardized contract documentation, and also they emphasize clear liability clauses and define limits on the guarantee responsibility. And then they emphasize transparent and well-structured claim procedure to avoid dispute. So modern scholars also recognize both restricted and unrestricted forms of kafalah as a tools for effective risk management. And in addition, strong emphasis is placed on institutional governance, Sharia audit, and Regulatory compliance. Okay. Next, we will take a look at this point. The key difference between classical scholars and modern scholars. Okay, so there are several notable differences between classical and modern perspective. This one is in terms of scope of the guarantor's responsibility. Classical scholars viewed it as simple and literal, whereas modern scholars promote a structured approach with clearly defined limits. And then classical discussion treated kafala and rahnu as a separate contract, while modern practice face risk of confusion if the two are not clearly distinguished. And in governance and enforcement, classical framework lack of standardized documentation and institutional oversight, while modern systems rely on internal policies, audit, and regulatory compliance. And then the similarities between these two, despite these differences, both classical and contemporary scholars share common objective. They both of them emphasize the importance of implementing kafalah in a manner that is fair and transparent. Uh, that will ensure the protection of all parties' right and align with the objective of the Maqasid Syariah. And this comparison shows that while the form of mechanism of kafalah have evolved, its core principle remain consistent across time. Okay. So the last subtopic is the conclusion. Okay. So to conclude, Kafalah is an important guarantee instrument in Islamic banking, firmly grounded in classical fiqh and Sharia principle. Classical scholars emphasize the validity of contract, clarity of the parties involved, and the object of the guarantee, as well as the prohibition of gharar and riba. So, in contrast, contemporary scholars adapt the concept of kafalah to suit the modern financial system by focusing on risk management, detailed contract documentation, and compliance with institutional standard. Then, lastly, not lastly yet, and the study highlights the importance of clearly distinguishing kafalah from rahnu, as well as the need for strong governance and institutional oversight. And proper implementation ensures that legal certainty and prevents injustice, particularly toward guarantors. And overall, the contemporary application of kafalah maintains its legal validity while supporting the objective of maqasid syariah, including justice, including protection of right, and harmony between traditional faith principles and the requirement of modern financial system. Okay, that's conclude my presentation. Okay, thank you for your attention. That's all from me.